Independence rock was the only platform, to my mind, when we grew up as musicians in the first 10 years of our career, where you had a platform. There was no other platform. In India, there were only two things. There was independence rock, and there were college festivals.
I think my second concert ever that I ever saw in my life was at IROC.
I think it's a fabulous platform for a lot of the bands and artists to come out there and play, especially the rockers.
Independence rock has now become like a culture, it's become like a phenomenon, people love it. And also it's a very important platform for people to express new music. And I remember clearly the impression that made on me and how I wanted to be on stage. Before I knew anyone on the circuit, before I knew anything about what it's like to be in a band. Independence rock is a very, very, very formative kind of festival. I think for most Indian bands, really.
I've always been a huge fan of rock music. In fact, I've been a huge fan of iRock. Since the time I was about, I think the first time I attended iRock I was 13, that's 15 years ago.
It continued to be the only significant platform of rock and metal music for so many years.
When we were just growing up in college, like everyone was like iRock, 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 like, you know, it was the biggest thing that was there to offer.
It's not about it being a big festival. It's not about having 17 stages. It's the origin of a lot of stuff that's going on now. I think it's one of the most definitive festivals worldwide.
It's become a highly desirable platform. It's like for up-and-coming bands, if they played at iRock, you know.
You have to understand that independence rock actually means different things to different people. It's a competition, it's a great gig, it's a festival, but it was the birthplace of the bands that became the biggest bands in the country.
2001, I think the show gates opened at about 5 or something. I was there at 12 in the afternoon. It was quite crazy to see, like a line of people starting to queue up. But we were first in line, we stood there, and all the way almost to VT station, there was just a line of black t-shirts, people standing in their jeans.
Independence rock actually started because of Farad's whole rebellion against Malhar, which wouldn't allow them to perform there. And that's where it comes from, and that's pretty definitive of Farad.
I used to play in a band called Mirage, and Zubin was a part of Rock Machine, which was the biggest band of those days. And those days, the only place that bands could perform was at college festivals. And Malhar was the biggest college festival at St. Xavier's. Both of us were hired to perform at their rock night, so as to say. And 1 week before the concert, the father, the principal in charge of St. Xavier's, suddenly decided that rock was the devil's music, and he cancelled the show. Now when he cancelled the show, there was an enterprising guy at Xavier's who got the bright idea. His name was Anurag. So he got the bright idea of doing a concert across the road at Rang Bhavan. So he says, you know, you guys, I'll pay you the 15,000 bucks and y'all perform at Rang Bhavan. So what if this guy's cancelled? Now we were very kicked because, you know, we had practiced for the whole bloody month and it was a great opportunity. So we said, yeah. This guy Anurag called it Independence Rock. So when I saw the name, I thought, wow, what a cheesy name, you know. So both Mark's band in the Rock Machine and my band, we landed at about 11 o'clock for a sound check, and there was no sight of Anurag. Apparently he had run because he didn't have the money to pay us, the sound guy, anyone. We were there, the posters were up. So I told Mark, I said, we practiced. Here's the deal. So I said, let's charge people 15 bucks at the gate, and whatever money comes, we will share it half-half. And that was the first Independence Rock. And at 6 in the evening, 4,000 kids showed up. So that's 4,000 into 15, that's 60,000 bucks. So we actually made money on the show. Obviously, it went off so well that the next year I told Mark, let's do this again. People will remember and they'll come. And that's how Independence Rock was born.
The iRock audience, I don't find that audience many other places. Because the iRock audience has a very, very purist outlook. They want the bands at iRock to stand for music. The audience in Bombay is very, very critical. I remember the whole crowd shouting and booing me. Suddenly I broke into the song, and then like it was an epiphany that I just saw this entire crowd from the boo shouting and screaming and saying more, more.
Very aggressive. Very, very aggressive. You can't put anything past them. I mean, they know you, they see through you, they can hear a false note. If you are not convinced about what you're doing up on that stage, you better not be there. It's a real testing ground for bands.
What has changed is that people have become more open to bands playing original music. That's probably the biggest change, because like even at iRock, say, when we started, it was predominantly a cover-dominated set.
Almost half our songs were original songs and half of songs were covers. So people actually, in those days, more kind of worshipped cover bands. I don't know for what reason, but now it has changed. And I think it's thanks to these festivals which have gone on, and people like Farhad who've been encouraging us, bands getting a chance to play, that now people actually worship bands who are playing original music and not cover music, you know.
Actually, my experience, I would say, with independence rock is more what I would say is about behind the scenes. We're working at some project or the other, doing a jingle at Farhad's studio, and Farhad would be cursing on the top of his head because some permission had not been got, and you know, he'd be hollering the whole building down. People don't come out to hear what has happened. You know, that's always, I mean, always been the case. There's always been some complication before the concert. But he's always overcome it, and I've really got to hand it to him for holding the flag up high.
I think that venue that we had in Rang Bhavan is sorely missed.
Because that venue does have a certain bit of, you know, what musicians call mojo or vibe or whatever. You know, you can sense that the moment you get on that stage, like a lot of, I mean, the Police have played there for heaven's sake, you know, so it's quite an iconic stage.
Spectacular. No venue anywhere that we've played overseas or here will ever match Rang Bhavan. Ever.
First of all, it's a great venue. Secondly, it's got great history. Third, there's something about that place. There's something undefinable about that place. That in spite of all the bureaucracy and all the shit that went on that you had to do to kind of get that place to do a festival or do a show there, you know, there was something really undefined about it that was special. I mean, just having played there is a privilege that a lot of new bands won't kind of experience, and that saddens me.
It was a place for music, it was a place for song and dance, it was a place for culture, it was a place for... It was made for what? It was made for a platform to perform. I don't understand why people are, you know, they don't understand that.
In, you know, year 19, when they, you know, when they announced this ban on the venue, I went to court. I fought 4 cases. I went right up to the Supreme Court. I spent 8 lakhs of my own money, and we lost. So I mean, that's what happened to Rang Bhavan.
And it was rightfully so. We all went for the hearing. You know, I went for it. And why? Because we had to turn out to show our solidarity for somebody who's like fighting to keep the one live music venue in Bombay alive here.
You know, if you pride yourself on this being a modern, contemporary and so-called world city, we don't have a place for a band to play.
It's just a dead place now. Do something with that. I think that I would support Farhad for that happily.
It's really incredible, you know, that the guys like pulled it off with Rang Bhavan closing down, with police problems, hey, whoa, and stuff like that, but still he's pulled it off, you know.
Part and parcel of the whole thing was, at that point, Indiscreet, Rock Machine We were one of the first few bands to start really promoting our own music. Here was a platform where you could really play your own stuff and the audiences would, you know, take it.
It has given bands a number of, I think, breaks. It has allowed bands to build fans, talk to fans, compare how one band is versus the other band, and actually have a scene. Now, of course, unfortunately, it was just once a year, but you know, I think on the back of that, now today you're seeing so many other platforms.
Independence rock birthed us, like I said. I can attribute a 20-year career of Brahma to independence rock.
A lot of the musicians today in the scene, a lot of the film music composers today in the scene, a lot of people like us, we've got our literally our graduation certificates at Independence Rock.
Every act that has performed at Independence Rock, starting with Rock Machine, which became industry and really big, to Parikrama, to Zero, to Brahma, to you name the band, to Shamak Dawar has played there, Sunita Rao, Shweta Shetty, they all become Bollywood guys. Everyone who has performed, once they perform at Independence Rock, they become really well known. In fact, so much so that bands, if they die to perform there, because they know that once they have that credibility or that on their show reel, all the college festivals will call them to perform. So it's been a platform that recognizes talent.
And everything that I learned while playing with Pentagram is what makes me who I am today, you know. So for whatever it's worth, I think, yeah, iRock's definitely been a big part of that.
And it's crazy, you know, I today run into CEOs of companies who say, you know, yeah, I've come at your concert and I've passed out drunk in the front row. It's important to them, you know, that's why people come every year to attend it. My most memorable moment, I think, was around year 5. You know, I remember one Independence Rock where I walked onto stage and I saw this guy in a lungi sleeping and a banyan sleeping on stage on a keyboard, you know, case. I didn't know who it was, so I shook him and I said, hey, kya kar raha hai idhar? You know, what do you get off stage? So he said, sorry sir, I am Rahman sir, I am keyboard player for this band down Sterling. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, I said, why are you sleeping here? He said, no, we missed the guy who was going to meet us at the station. So, you know, I have come here and we are tired, so I'm sleeping. And that year, down Sterling played and Rahman was the keyboard player.
I think Brahma was performing on stage at that time, and one of the guys in our gang, he actually climbed the barricade and grabbed the water bottle of the vocalist and got off stage. So that was pretty hilarious. A couple of years later, there was incidents of throwing dead fish at Brahma that some people took to at the festival.
One year we had this crazy idea to get crates of peaches and toss them into the crowd because we were playing a song called Peaches. Alright, so unfortunately one of the bands backstage thought the peaches were refreshments and they went through all the crates, so we were left with 4 peaches which we
I have some recollections of Farhad actually in his old, I think it was a Maruti van if I'm not mistaken, parked right alongside the line of people trying to get into Malhar and selling tickets outside, being the entrepreneur that he was even in those days.
There was, the concert was going on, Industry was playing, and a guy from the audience threw a bottle onto the stage. It was really, I mean, for that guy's bad luck that Farhad saw it. He went into the audience and pulled the guy out and hit him so hard that the guy will probably never do it again.
The craziest memories from iRock, I'd say it would have to be earlier, from 2001. We were watching this band and they were really bad. Okay, like they weren't sounding good at all. And there was this guy eating a vada pav next to me, okay, and he was disgusted. He's eating his vada pav, he looks at it like, kya horrible band hai ye, okay, in more explicit terms, and he throws his half-eaten vada pav on stage. I mean, I just looked at that and I was like, wait, what is going on?
We were figuring out how to take Independence Rock to the next level. So we came upon the idea that we will make it the biggest live broadcast event in India. What we are attempting to do this time is historical. In 5 different cities, 5 bands are playing. 5 of top bands from that city are playing. And we are going to cut every hour live to 10 minutes of each band. So this is like doing Live Aid.
Whatever Farad's doing is pretty spectacular. Never been done before, never been attempted by anyone else.
And I think it's a great thing because for those who can't come to the venue, they get to see it from the comforts of their home, courtesy MTV and VH1.
We're trying to also give some of the power of selection to people. This year we're doing that through the MTS Red Energy Wildcard Band. So if you're a band who's entered Independence Rock and you have, let's say, a Facebook page or a Red Energy page which is seeing a lot of activity where there's lots of people commenting, liking, downloading your stuff, whoever has the most of that happening just gets straight a wild card into the finals.
Over the years, and especially after a point where we got to play our first iRock and then growing as a musician from there, it's just been a great learning curve. It's been an awesome experience. Every time you play to over 3,000 people or every time you play to over 5,000 people, you don't get that opportunity very often. iRock's been that gig that's giving you that opportunity more often than not. So when you play to a bigger audience, you're automatically reaching out to a lot of people, and we're a heavy metal band. More often than not, I mean, it's cool when you get on stage and you play a rock cover or you get on stage and you play one of your listener-friendly songs. But when you're a heavy metal band, to get an entire audience going and a good 5,000 strong audience going, that's special, man. Like iRock was the first time we ever did that, and I think maybe in Bombay in years to come that will be the only show. Like even if it's postponed or whatever, whenever it happens, people will show up and it's always a stellar gig.
Very few festivals or shows go on for as long as 26 years, and it's not just in India, it's I think on a worldwide basis. It is truly quite amazing what the fact that it has this kind of legs, that it has seen the highs and lows of years where you have sponsorships here when you had very few attendance, you had venue problems moving from Rang Bhavan to the suburbs. You've had this has gone through quite an interesting and challenging journey in itself as to how it has evolved.
I took my daughter to iRock last year. She's 2 years old and I was singing there, so and I like to take her for shows that are outdoor shows, and I said what better way to start than with iRock, because I'm passing it on to the next generation. This is who I am, this is what I want her to be. And it's a very safe place to be also. Anybody can come, and my parents have always come for iRock.
I think what's urgent for the festival is to kind of really continue to nurture what they have been. Greater and greater bands coming out of there, making a bigger and bigger noise. I think that's really important.